Welcome to the podcast. Now that I'm engaged, how do I get married? I'm your host, Kevin Dennis.
And I'm August Yocher, co-host and brand manager at Fantasy Sound Event Services.
In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 35 years ago.
Each week on this podcast, we'll explore a new corner of wedding planning so you can prepare for your I-dos without the stress.
From budgeting to booking vendors to the day of drama.
Let's talk smart wedding planning.
All right, folks, welcome to another episode. Now that I'm engaged, how do I get married? And we're here today with the one and only Dana Kadwell, and she's going to be talking to us about how to stay on your venue's good side for all you couples out there that are maybe not being on your venue's good side. She's going to give you all the tips and tricks to stay on your venue's good side. But Dana, welcome to the episode. And why don't you tell us a little about yourself and how we got you here today?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, by the way. So excited for it. I love giving any practical tips to clients and couples. But I got here, I've been in the industry for a little over 20 years now, which is crazy to say. Started out as a planner and really fell in love with the industry there. Just fell in love with the community, the clients, just the design, like the rush of the day, all of it. And as you kind of are ever evolving, the next step was a venue ownership. So I opened a venue about 11 years ago called the Bradford, and that has been such a learning experience in so many ways. I'd probably talk for like hours about it. But it's a little bittersweet season of life that the Bradford is being sold, and I just purchased 2 other new venues. So officially a multi-venue owner. And that has been really interesting and really cool because they're 2 very different venues. So I get 2 very different types of clients. So it's been like a little bit of an education on my side. But yeah, so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Excited to learn all about the new endeavor. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So, all right. So as we dive in here, what are some few easy ways couples can immediately build a great relationship with their venue team?
So I say the first thing is to be honest. And I think that's a hard thing because I think that couples sometimes want to say what they think we want them to say. And ultimately, we're all in this industry because we want to help and serve couples and clients. And so being honest where you're really at is like the most helpful thing because we're able to give you the best product, make the best recommendations. So that's the first thing I say is like, just tell me where you're at. Like, even if it's something as simple as what your real budget is, don't tell me a fake budget. Like, that doesn't help or serve anybody. But even just like what stresses you out, even if it feels silly. Like I had a client the other day that, we were doing a call and I said, what's really stressing you out right now? And she's like, no one has asked me that at all. And I was like, well, how can we help you? And she's like, it sounds really weird and it sounds really crazy. And I was like, I promise you it's not. And she's like, I just don't want to be bothered on the day with the easy questions. And she's like, and I get overwhelmed when I have to make decisions on the day. So I don't want to make any decisions on the day. So she's like, I want to make all the decisions, ask all the questions, have 10 different plan options before I walk in because I don't want to be asked to make a decision on my wedding day. And I was like, that's not weird at all. And I love that you told me that because now we can plan accordingly, So being honest is a big thing. Read your contract. It's like, actually read it. Like truly, truly read it. Don't just sign your life away. Understand like what you are agreeing to in terms of the venue. It's so helpful to like be able to like raise that red flag and say, hey, like I actually don't like this clause or this thing, and we can have a conversation about it. Super easy. It's super easy to do. And then I think the last one is just ask questions. Like, so 3 things to tell people: read your contract, be honest where you're at, and ask the questions. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. Like, I want to be able to give you the answers.
Yeah. Honestly, I used to work at 2 venues, and everything you're saying is just exactly what I would have said too. Because like, it's so funny, like you said, like trying to like be this perfect client or to say what you think they want to say. And at the end of the day, I'm sure you've gotten this too, but we've been asked every question in the book. We already have the answer for it. And reading your contract was so important. I would always point them to like, okay, look at section 8. Like section 8 always had the like no fireworks or no,
Right.
what is it, the dried ice, like
Yeah.
all that normally later are the certain things that couples are super upset about. And it's like, well, if you would have just read the contract, it would have saved you a lot of
Yeah.
stress now. So,
It's so true, and even when you try to do things like, "I'm gonna force you to read it by putting your initials here," it doesn't matter.
No.
They just don't read it.
they go
Yeah.
boop, 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 boop.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
one of the venues we work at has, like, a client portal where they put a lot of information in there for the
Mhm.
and I'll ask them a question because 'cause we're planning an event, and they're like, "Well, we don't know." I'm like, "Well, it's in your portal, like, go ahead,
Yeah.
jump in there."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's so true, it's so true. Well, and I think that and I don't know if it's a generational thing too, and I don't love making stereotypes of generations in general, but I think and maybe it's not generational, maybe it's just the times that we're in that we are stuck behind a screen so much that the questions and I tell my clients, like, if you don't feel comfortable, like, sitting in front of me asking a question, text it to me, like, email me, whatever you feel most comfortable with, but you're not annoying me by asking the question. There's nothing that you're
Mhm.
going to ask me that is going to annoy me. If anything, it's going to make me appreciate you and love you more because I see you're engaged. I see that you care. I see you've put thought into it. Even if you think it's the dumbest question to me, it shows that you are going to be a collaborator and a partner in this process. You're
Hmm.
not just going to expect me to be like, oh, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about this? You know what I mean? So, like, don't be afraid of it. Like, I have found that people are just like, well, I don't want to bother you. I'm like, you're not bothering me. Like, I am in the service industry. Like, this is my
This is
job. You
my
are
job.
not
Yeah.
bothering me. Yes. Yes. So true.
I live to serve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But would you say, other than like not even being dishonest, but just like couples not being super willing to come forward with questions, like there any other behaviors that you see
Mm.
or requests that like unintentionally can strain the relationship between a client and their venue?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like if they have this idea in their mind and then for some reason in some conversation or email exchange, they built this story that it's going to be turned down, that the answer is going to be no. Whether it's something as simple
Mm.
as, we have a exclusive catering list, but like they really want something that is I got a client that was like non-dairy gluten-free, vegan, and none of our caterers could really handle that caliber of that tasted good, I should say, that caliber of food, right? And they just had it in their head that they couldn't ask and that they weren't being that's what they really wanted. And so they were kind of like beating around the bush and going to all these tastings and saying, well, this isn't good enough, this isn't good enough. I'm like, well, did you have somebody in mind? Like, do you know who you want? They're like, oh yes, we really wanted to book so and so, but it wasn't on your list. I was like, why didn't you just tell me that that's what you were trying to do? Like, I could have saved you and all my vendor friends so much time and money and effort
Yeah.
by having this conversation. So it's just like, I think that's human nature. We're afraid of the no, and we're afraid again of inconveniencing somebody. And it came from a good place. It wasn't coming from a
Oh
bad
yeah.
place. Like they were like the
Yeah.
sweetest couple. It's like they were too kind in some regards. But yeah, so things like that, like, and exactly to your point, like you'll have a conversation with them at the tour and like, hey, we don't allow fireworks or something. And they're like, okay. But then in their mind, they're like, I can convince them later. Like I could just do it later, like
Mhm.
that their intention is to break a rule as opposed to saying, okay, we know you really want fireworks. Like what's some other options we have? And the truth is you can have fireworks, but you're going to pay for a firework person to come in and do it. And it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Like if you want to pay that bill or whatever. So I think it's just creating that narrative in their mind that they are afraid to be honest with what they really feel and what they really want, because for whatever reason is what causes that kind of friction.
Yeah. All right.
And I
So oh,
Oh,
go
I
ahead,
was just gonna
August.
say, like, I feel like at the end of the day, like, and this kind of goes for any vendor, is you don't want to say no, right? Like,
Right.
let's work together to come to some kind of solution where we're both happy. We're not living just to say no. We genuinely want to help you create the vision you want. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's so fine to ask those questions and try to find a solution.
Yeah, like I had a client one time that was like, we have all these like different like ceremony sites. And this was like early on, it's like year 2 or 3. And she was just like kind of hemming and hawing. And I was like, okay, well, do you want somewhere else? She's like, well, I kind of have this idea. And I was like, what's the idea? And she's like, I don't know if you're gonna like it. And I was like, I might love it. Like, what's the idea? And she's like, I really want to get married at the front of the house. And I was like, I love it. And she's like, really? And I said, yeah, let's make it happen, for sure. But she just thought like in her mind that like, oh, there's no way that this is going to be allowed because it's the front of the house and it's not this designated. I was like, no, like to your point, like I want to make this happen exactly how you want it to happen. And sometimes I need someone with a different idea to make it like, something amazing. And it's my favorite pictures of the venue of all
Aw.
time is that
Oh,
ceremony
wow.
in front of the house because it was just so beautiful and it was so perfect.
I love it.
Hmm.
All right. So let's talk communication and being honest and all that good
Yeah.
stuff. So what information should couples and or their planners share early and often with their venue?
Early and often. I think ultimately what their overall goal is. So like I think there is and to be honest about what your goal is. So some clients their goal is to have the most beautiful, well-designed wedding, right? So when a client comes to me and it says, "Look, I want an Instagram perfect wedding."
Mm.
Cool. Love that for you. Let's talk about access time because if you're bringing in all of this stuff and you need these things to be perfect, then we might need to add some time. And I want that to happen, not because I'm trying to make money, but because I want to reach that goal that you have. Like
Mhm.
your goal is this, and this is how I can help you get to that goal. So it's what is your ultimate goal? Maybe for a client, it is I want my guests to feel warm and welcome and nothing to have there to be no friction and it to be an easy flow. Like, okay, then we'll make sure we have plan ABC for like rain, hurricane, all that stuff so that that happens. So it's really just being very clear as to not only why you chose the venue, but like what you're hoping the venue can do for your wedding and not being ashamed of it. Like
Mm.
it's fine if you're like, I picked this because it was beautiful, or I picked this because it has a great whatever the case may be, and not because of what you feel like it should have been picked. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes
Yeah.
people are like, they like again, they had this idea in their mind. So definitely the goals. I don't want to say budget because I think it's really hard to understand your budget early. I think
I
you
agree.
can kind of give some ideas. You can give some parameters. You can give some like kind of like guidelines. But when a venue comes in and in the inquiry form says what's your budget, it's the most useless piece of information that you could ever get because nobody knows what it is. Like they
No.
just are taking a shot in the dark. So it's not a data point that's even worth talking about. So for me, I don't care about that at all. Like, I don't care what your budget is or whatnot. But I also really want to know like what kind of vendors you're looking for so I can help match you with the right vendors, like at the end of the
Mm.
day. Like, not, and again, that goes down to like your aesthetic, how you like to work, all that. It's not really necessarily like, oh, I want to spend $500 on a DJ, which like that's not going to happen. But it's more just kind of what you're looking for and how we can help that make the wedding perfect.
Yeah, and I like because you were talking about access time earlier, and I think a lot of couples have unrealistic, like how long it takes to get that
Mhm.
photo or whatever. And I'll meet with clients a lot, and they're like, "Yeah, we only have an hour and a half to make this
Mhm.
happen." And I'm like, "Well,
Mhm.
this is going to cost you $1 million
Yeah.
or in labor just to
Right.
get everybody and anybody to be there to put this thing together in an hour and a half."
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to be upfront and honest, like, so we got to kind of work with the but or they want to hang things in the ceiling, but there's no hanging points in the ceiling, to do that. So it's like, well, we
Well,
can't.
yeah, and
Yeah.
even if you have somebody that's like, "No, we can make the access time work," I still wanna know because what I'm going to do is my cleaner is not gonna be there at 7 a.m., right? From
Mhm.
7 to 10 a.m. when you're getting
Mm.
there at 10, the cleaner's gonna get there at midnight, and I'm gonna be damn sure that it is all ready to go the minute your access time starts. So, like, just helping us be a part of the solution is
Mhm.
so helpful that we can do everything in our power to make it work because we're people, right? We are people, we employ people. My cleaner is a person. What happens if they hit traffic? What happens if they get sick? What
Yeah.
happens
Yeah.
like all of these things and if you're playing it up to the like so close to the chest and which normally works for most people, like you could be done at 10 and it's fine and it's no big deal. But you know that it needs to be perfect and on like exactly at this time, then we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we give ourselves that buffer time. Like our person's going to get there early, they're going to make sure everything's opened up. Like we're gonna be able to make it a smoother process, but we can't do that if we don't know,
Yeah.
that that's what you're ultimately trying to do.
Yeah, there's nothing worse as a vendor going into a venue and the venue has no idea what we're doing, like because the
Yeah,
couple didn't share, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
really bad.
especially for you, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all the infrastructure you have to put in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I can imagine. You're like, "No, but this is the diagram." And they're like, but you can't put that there." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So true.
Well, and from a
Mhm.
venue standpoint too, like when I worked at the venue I was at, there'd be so many times where you're doing a wedding and then I had one time where I think it was like 2 different vendors who were not communicated to me, just
Mm.
showed up and I'm like, "Oh, this is not on the timeline. This is not in my
Yeah.
notes." Like there's so many steps we have to take and yeah, it just communicate. That's all it is. So,
Yeah, I think there's never too much information, and
no.
I tell my like, say that all the time, like, in our CRM, like, I have a notes page, and I just add to the notes, even if it's, like, the dumbest thing, like, they're having vanilla cake. Why does that matter? It does not matter, but, like, there's never enough, like, too much information because what I can tell you is that in the back, I know that's vanilla cake, and when it gets cut and it's chocolate, I'm like, "This wasn't their cake." Like, like, "This wasn't what I
Yeah.
should have had." So then you're, like, punting, you're trying to figure it out, right? So, like, there's never too much information. So I always say, like, you can always like, it gets or, like, categorized somewhere in some system that is gonna help eventually. So, say everything and all
Yeah.
Yeah.
the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What kind of questions should couples ask up front with their venue to avoid surprises later on?
Yeah, I think the biggest surprises are, well, there's 3 to me. There's vendor restrictions. So first off, asking
Mm,
what are the vendor restrictions, and understanding that clearly. Like for a lot of places, if it's like a kind of bring your own, it's like non all inclusive. There's restrictions on what caterers you can use. There's restrictions on what planners you can use. So understanding that and making sure again it hits the goals and what you thought and like
Mhm.
what you had in mind. And there are sometimes, like, I know for us, like, we'll say this is our exclusive. There are exceptions depending on the situation. Don't assume that exception is going to apply to you. So ask
Mhm.
that question. So if you're like coming into a place that has vendor restrictions and you have a very specific vendor, get that vendor approved before you sign that contract and require
mhm,
that. Don't let them convince you to sign that contract and say, "Well, we'll work at it later." No, I want it in my contract that this person is approved just to protect you more than the venue at that point, really. So, understanding the vendor restrictions, understanding the fees, and this is like my own personal pet peeve. Like, I personally hate nickel and diming, so I'm always very clear as to how this looks. But the venues will nickel and dime you to the death. It's like that Airbnb, like, you see that number, and then you're like, This was $100 a night. How am I paying $800? It doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense." And that is what it feels like. So, asking, like, just straight up, "What are the extra fees? Is there a kitchen fee for my caterer? Is there a fee for, like, vendors that come in? What does that look like? Do you have a service fee on your bar, on your food, on your rentals?" Like, really understanding it. And then for people who really truly want to get a full picture, ask for a quote with all of it in. And then that
mhm,
way you kind of have something to refer back to if it's not coming out the way it's supposed to. So, and I think that I don't want to like throw venues under the bus, but there's just not a lot of transparency in that.
mhm,
And I feel for clients for that because they fall in love with something and they're going against 2 different venues and they're comparing apples and oranges when it comes to cost because one venue's upfront with it and one venue isn't? So just being really clear and understanding
Oh,
um, what those are. Then I had a third one and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head right now. Dang it, it's gonna
it's
come to
okay.
me. I'll think about it. Yeah. Those are 2 main
It'll
we'll
ones.
it'll
circle
come out.
back.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
come out when it does. So, and I love
Yeah.
it, it's a good idea to get that out the door price because there, like you
Mhm.
said, it's nothing worse than when you go to book something and then you're getting oh, I'm getting it for, whatever price, and now all of a sudden it's double or triple what you thought it was gonna be, and, it just puts a sour note in your face or
Mhm,
in
Yeah.
your mouth, yeah.
Yeah, for
So,
yeah,
sure. Those are the worst. They're the worst when they go venue poor at the end of the day, and then they can't get what they really want. Like, I just your heart breaks for them because they made
yeah,
so many and they just didn't realize they were making that sacrifice at the time because they
mhm,
just didn't fully understand, like, what it was gonna, like, encompass, what it was gonna include, really.
yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so how can couples work with their planner or vendor team to avoid putting the venue in a tough spot?
Yeah. That's a great question. Oh, well This is like a two-part answer. One, I feel like if you have really good vendors, you'll never put a venue in a tough spot because
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that we work so well together and we mitigate so many problems on the back end before the client's
Mhm.
even involved. So hiring professionals is for sure the biggest thing. But honestly, it's really being able to do whatever you need to do to make a decision that is best for you and your guests, not what is best for the dollar. What I'm saying there is living in North Carolina, we have hurricanes, right?
Yeah.
We had a freak snow 2 weeks ago and had a client that moved their wedding, whatever.
Mhm.
And so when you have the things that kind of protect your investment, and I'm talking about, event insurance at this point, it sound like an ad for event insurance, but what clients don't understand is that when you have cancellation insurance, it doesn't mean just because your wedding gets canceled. It means that let's say there is a hurricane and you paid $10,000 for flowers, but your florist can't get there because of whatever reason. That cancellation insurance will give you your money back on those flowers. Or if you had to do a rush order, they'll pay you for that rush order, right? It covers the financial burden, that decision you have to make. So now you're making a decision. Okay, not because, oh my God, I just spent $10,000 on flowers. I need to force this vendor to show up or I'm going to be angry and sue them or whatever. Now you're making a decision. Okay, it's not safe for this florist to get here. I can run to this place. I can hire this person. And even though it's going to cost me an extra $4,000, it's fine. I have insurance. They're going to cover it and I'm going to get my money back for this. Then you're making
Mhm.
a logical decision that's best for you, that's best for your guests, that's best for your vendors. And so whatever you need to do to like create that kind of that decision making like boundary line, I guess I should say,
Mm.
is really helpful. I'm not saying that it isn't going to be sad. Like you're obviously, if you don't have the flowers you pay us money for in the vision, like that's upsetting. Like a wedding is a once in a lifetime thing. You can't repeat it. But when you're stuck with a situation that you have no control over and it is because of, whatever the case may be, that there's a part of you that allows you to make a decision that, really protects all and everybody's interest. So I think it's a hard one because it's emotional, like, because it's their wedding, and they want it to be exactly how they want it to be. But by allowing yourself to give yourself that space, I think is really helpful.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, choosing the right vendors too, because if they're experienced and also if they've worked with the venue a lot, they're already gonna have a lot of that knowledge in the back of their mind too. But we preach insurance over here too. It's like
Yeah.
you gotta have it.
Yeah, and it's not super expensive, and I think that for the long time, venues like, "Oh, just get liability, liability." I don't need your liability insurance. To be honest with you, I pay enough in liability insurance. I will more than likely be fine. Like, I don't need that. That's
Yeah.
not what I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is your investment. What I'm worried
Mhm.
about is us being able to make good decisions when something
Mm.
happens. Like, that's what I'm worried about when I'm talking
Mhm.
about insurance. So I think there's just been this big, like, kind of misconception around it that it's just to like protect your own personal assets if someone was to get hurt or,
Yeah.
whatever. But I mean, knock on wood, those things are like very rarely happen. What you're
Yeah.
seeing more of is things not happening how they were supposed to happen because of a rose shortage or a crazy heat wave or things that were just so out of everybody's control. And that's where you get all these like kind of, you know, angry decisions that are being made.
Yeah. Just external factors you can't control. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay. So I'm kind of hoping here maybe you have a story for us. Yeah. But with
Bum, 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 bum.
bum 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 bum.
About
Um
what?
well when
Yeah.
without like naming names, you don't have to go into that. But like has there ever been a moment in your past you think couples could learn from where things did not go as planned with a venue? Just
Mm,
like a lesson they can take with them.
that's a good
And if you need
question.
a minute to like marinate, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough one. I think there's a couple of things for sure. I think I'll tell one story of where the right vendors really saved the day. And this was a
Mm,
client that she was a great client. Her and her fiance, or I guess husband now. Great client, super easy to work with, but they really had a really great vendor team. They're a bunch of professionals. They're people we worked with. And I wouldn't even say they worked with them all the time at the Bradford, but they were people that we knew well in the industry. And there was like this like crazy, it was, it was 2017, I think it was. And so we
Mhm.
had this, it was a hurricane season, and we had made the decision we were going to put the tent up, because that, like the day before, they say, look, the hurricane is, it's turning, it's not coming into the Raleigh area. And the biggest gust you're going to see is like 50-mile-per-hour wind. So like, obviously a tent can withstand that. That's what made sense, so on and so forth. And we wake up that next morning, the tent is up, and it is not the case. And the hurricane has shifted. And
Oh
it was
no.
such dangerous winds that we couldn't even take the tent down, like, because the tent, it would
Wow.
like basically fly out. So me and the vendors, we all get together and we just make this plan. We're like, how are we going to keep these people safe? Because they decided to maintain their wedding because everyone was from out of town. Everyone was on a charter bus. Like, they're like, we can get them here. One, how are we going to fit all these people, because the tent was supposed to hold them, right? We didn't know how we were going to fit them all in the different spaces. How are we going to fit these people in here? How are we going to flip these spaces? And then how are we going to prevent this tent from busting out a window at the end of the day?
Yeah.
How are we going to prevent it from flooding? Like, all of these
Scary.
things,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
scary. And we just came together as this vendor team and absolutely made it happen. And with the planner, I sat down with the planner, said, okay, here's what we're going to do. These are all the things we're putting in place. Here's where I need like just kind of like a quote unquote approval that, the client is fine with it. And the client was like, yes, like, I want to get married today. This is what I want to happen. I knew that there was going to be some changes based on deciding this factor. And she was just like so go with the flow, like such a chill client. But ultimately, the day, it took longer because we had like the ceremony, then we had to flip the space, then we had dinner, then we had to flip the space. So everything just took significantly longer. So by the time we got to
Mhm.
dancing, they really only had like 45 minutes.
Mhm.
And she came up to me, and she's been like this gem of a human, like up until now, right? And she is still a gem of a human. I should say, like, she's just been fine, right? And she comes up, and you could
Yeah.
tell she's just like so anxious, and she said,
Mm.
Dana, I really, can we just extend this an hour and a half? Like, when I picture my wedding, I just wanted to dance. And I said, let me see what I can do. So I go to all the vendors. I'm like, the DJ, can you stay? Like, the photographer, can you stay? Like, catering, can you stay? And they're like, yes. And we can stay. And they're like, there's a labor cost. And I went to the dad and I was like, okay, here's the total number it's going to cost in order for us all to stay. And he's like, yes, do it. Here's a check. Fine, whatever. But like,
Mhm.
and we all stayed and partied. And I think we ended up taking like tequila shots at the end of the night together, because she was like, you guys are amazing, whatever. But I felt like she stood up for what she wanted, right?
Mhm.
She wasn't just going to let it, even though she was a like super chill, super go with the flow. She still was like, no, this is what I really want. And she approached it in a way that was like, not like where I felt like, hey, this is super important to her. She made it very clear it was important, that she really wanted to dance. And then she was also kind of like, I understand that this is a long shot, based on the contract, based on all these things. But if you can make this happen, like, this would be amazing. Right. And I think it was a combination of her respecting us enough to say it in that way, but also the
Uh-huh.
fact that she hired such amazing professionals that every single one of us was like 100%, like, let's make it happen. Like,
Mhm.
we understand how stressful this has been, for everybody. But, and it worked out great. We had a great time. I think I hired like 4 high school boys, and their whole job was to just ratchet down tent straps every 30 minutes. They'd go out in the hurricane and they would like
Wow.
ratchet the tent straps back down.
Ah!
They had
And
a
I'm sure they
blast.
loved it.
Oh, they loved
Yeah, I'm
it.
going to say
Yeah.
Oh
that sounds
yeah.
like a
Having a great time.
blast.
Yeah. Yeah. But, so yeah, I think, weddings are, they're an investment for sure. But,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying every single professional vendor is the top of the line you have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for. It's really just finding someone that understands, clicks with you, and then that really does have the experience to be able to make decisions for you in that way that are going to like, that are going to work, instead of just being like, oh, I don't know. This is my third wedding. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Mhm.
That would have been disastrous in that
Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
Well, and even you made me think about a wedding that I did where the mom and the bride both overheated during
Mm,
the photos, like before the
mhm,
ceremony even happened, and they had, I mean, 2 ambulances and all kinds of good
mm,
stuff were at the venue, but obviously things got pushed back and things were delayed. But I was working with an established officiant, established musicians, and none of them were willing to stay. None of them were willing to like make it happen. So then we had to go in pivot mode and make us vendors that were all there to, for the good of the client,
Right.
Mhm.
yeah. And it's crazy because those two vendors will never work at that venue again,
Yeah. Yeah.
after that. So,
Yeah. And I think that there's something to be said about a preferred vendor list. They're not always 100% accurate, but there is a reason why they're on that list. Like, it's not just, I threw someone on there. It's like, no, these people have like, fought this battle with me, whatever, good, bad situations. But
They're
like,
loyal.
and I always say the best vendor relationships are forged out of the hardest weddings, because you get to the end of the night, you're like, oh my God, we made it. We did it. Like and then you're forever bonded for the rest of your life. You see each other at a networking event. You're like,
The
oh my God, do
trauma
you remember
bond,
this
yeah.
wedding? It's a trauma bond. It is so true.
it's
so
funny.
true.
It's the same thing with that wedding that you were just talking about. We still, that wedding was 2 years ago, and we still will see each other and we're like, oh my God, you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened that day?
Yes.
So, anyway.
For the rest of your life, you'll remember what
Yeah.
happened that day. Yes.
So,
yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
So how can couples show like appreciation or kindness that really like resonates with the venues and the staff?
That's a good one. I know that like the expectation is to say tip your venue staff, but that's not actually true. I think for me, the biggest thing is one, it's understanding, like I think everyone in the industry loves words of affirmation. They love note cards.
Yeah.
They love the hug at the end of the night. I've always said feedback is a gift. So even like tell me what we did really well. And not that I love negative feedback, but I also want to make sure that like we've hit your expectations. So it's letting me know that, you delivered on what you promised. Like my favorite feedback is you over delivered, essentially. Like I expected this and you and your staff went beyond that. Like that to me is like the best thing you could ever say to me. But I think a lot of times in the industry, it's a very thankless job, especially the venue, because you really are the wallflower at the end of the day. Like you're there and you do the tours and you help, guide some things, here or there. But if you're not the planner, you're just kind of in the background, making sure the lights work, the toilets don't overflow, all that stuff. But like, I think just recognizing that, that they played a part in making the wedding a success is so great. I love it when clients reach out to me as a boss and like compliment my staff, because then that's my job to reward them financially. Like that's my job, like as a boss. And so then I know, okay, I'm gonna do something nice for them. They're gonna get a bonus, they're gonna get a gift, whatever the case may be, because of that feedback. But so I think not being afraid to just shout out really great service, not being afraid to say there isn't great service, but yeah, just saying thank you. I know that sounds so crazy, but
No,
just
I
a
don't think
simple
so.
thank you card, note, email, review, any of that is just means a ton. We call our win library. Like with my current staff, my two new venues, we started a win library. And so anytime we're just feeling overwhelmed, which is overwhelming, starting two new businesses, I'm like, let's take out a win. Here's a win. This person said that this is the best tour they've ever been on. Like, let's celebrate that today,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, it's always like hugs. I don't know why.
Oh,
They
yeah.
always meant so much to me. They're just so excited at the end of the night. The words of affirmation for sure. I also really liked it when couples would send out their thank you cards to all their guests, and like we would get one too. That
Yep.
also means a lot. But yeah, reviews I think are huge. Like being shouted out by name, it just like fills your heart with so much warmth. And I feel like, to me, like personally, like I feel like that's worth more than any tip. It just, because you put
Yeah.
so much hours and time and effort, blood, sweat, tears into the day, that just knowing that you were seen and you were recognized just means the world.
Yeah. And I like I said, personally, I feel like it is my job to financially like reward my team. Like that is my job, because ultimately if they do an incredible job, I'm going to get another business. It's like this
Totally.
cycle of all of it. But my favorite gift of all time was I gave a tour, and I had only toured the client. I wasn't even like their person that like helped plan the event. But I walked in at the day after it was like the Monday after their wedding, and they had gotten me a bag of Reese's Pieces was on my desk with a thank you note because I had just mentioned in passing in the tour that it was like my favorite candy.
Oh, how funny.
And it's just like, but all the staff, all of them had a very similar experience with that client. Like one, like the person who, like the client care person who was their person throughout the entire thing, that person had gotten them their favorite scent from like Anthropology
Oh,
candle
wow.
or whatever, because they had just, she's like, we were just talking one day about it and I mentioned so how much I loved Capri and that was like my present. Like that is so thoughtful that it makes you feel like not just like, I know how sometimes clients can just feel like a number, they can feel like a dollar, but for us,
Mhm.
like a lot of us, we just feel like just like nothing, like, and it's just feeling seen in that way that someone remembered a conversation or remembered how much you loved it, took the time to go get it, to write that note. And like, I don't know. It was just like, and what was that bag of Reese's Pieces? Like $2?
I was
Like,
gonna say, it's such a
yeah.
small little, amount, to give, but it was the thought that went behind
Yep.
it and that they remembered and that,
It's very the unreasonable
Yeah.
hospitality
Yes.
vibes. Yeah, it's
Very
Yes.
exactly
vibes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But so I think anything like that you could just, you know, just make them feel seen and heard, because ultimately, and I feel this about, I can say this about my staff, is they love their job. Like they love what they do. Like, and they're
Mhm.
there because they love what they do. And so having somebody like affirm that they're in the right place and that they're valued and that they're doing a great job is so meaningful to them more than anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're starting to wrap up
Okay.
here. So, if something goes wrong,
Mm,
what's the best way for couples to gracefully advocate for themselves
mm.
versus getting in an offensive mode?
Ooh, that's a tough one. So it kind of depends on the situation. If it's something that I can fix right away, tell me right away. Like
Mm,
if it is something that I can fix in that moment, do not wait until a week later to tell me the AC didn't they couldn't figure out to turn the AC on. I could have fixed that for you. Like that's so
Mhm.
frustrating. So if I can
Yeah.
fix it right away, let me at least attempt to fix it. Tell me what's wrong. Let me whatever. If it's something that I cannot fix right away, like I don't know.
the
I don't know.
hurricane.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I can't think of something on top of my head, but if it's something that, like, I cannot physically fix at that problem, like, something's wrong with, like, the septic or something, like, some crazy catastrophe happens.
Mhm.
I can't get out. I'll probably call somebody, but I can't do anything to fix it. Then that's a conversation, like, we're gonna talk about this, next week, Wednesday, Thursday. We're all gonna, like, take a moment, calm down, whatever, do whatever needs to happen, and we'll have a conversation about it. Um, so I think that if it's in the moment, like on the day, it's those two things. I I think that there is this what happens a lot with weddings is like the clients don't actually realize something's going wrong, and like either the parents realize something or guests realize something, and then like 3 days later when they're talking to someone about it, like, oh my God, did you hear so and so, so and so? And then they're like
Mhm.
bringing it to you, and you're just like, I could have changed that. Like if there was no toilet
Mhm.
paper, like I could have easily fixed that, whatever, something minor. If it's during like the planning process, I think it's like don't be afraid, like don't let it fester. Like let's just have the conversation. I think I'm a huge advocate of send an email with how you feel and then ask for an immediate phone follow up. Let the information, whatever you are saying, get to where it needs to go. Let the whoever's receiving it get the emotional outburst out of the way. It's so much easier for
Yeah.
me. Like, and I'm not gonna lie to you, like, and owning a venue is emotional. It is like everything you own, your blood, sweat, and your tears is in it. So sometimes when you get this email from somebody, you're like, what in the world? And you just have this like emotional spiral about it. And you want to say all the things and you want to rage against, all of it. But then you have this moment where you calm down and you reread the email and you're like, okay, there's a nugget of truth in here. And you can like get through the other side of it. And then you can have a really productive conversation. So I think if it's something that's heavy and that's hard, I always say, write it out first. Like, even though sometimes the tone can get misconstrued, all of that, even though, like, still let them know what they are dealing with before you get them on the phone, because you're going to get further faster because they're already going to be processing through, okay, is this a refund situation? Is this, I need to like give this really nice family a bottle of wine? Like, how am I going to solve this problem? And so they're coming to you with a solution to it as opposed to than trying to justify and be defensive. Well, you didn't see this and you didn't do that, because it gets it on both ends, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, and I always say too, whoever is the least emotional about it is the one that should be having the conversation. Like, truly,
Mm,
whoever can talk about it in a factual s- ABC happened is the person that needs to be having the conversation. It's not the person that's emotional about it, even though it could be a hard and emotional thing. It's easier to get to the bottom of something when it's just facts, you know?
Yeah, I get it because there's some events that I worked last year that I'm still emotional about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anytime I think about them, I'm always like, "Argh," like it just,
Yeah.
and I'm the last person that should be talking to them
I
about it.
mean, yeah, I
So,
think from both sides, it's like hard not to feel emotional sometimes. But I think, like you said earlier, Dana, like at the end of the day, it's real people on
Mhm.
both ends, right?
Mhm.
yeah,
So it's just having the right kind of conversation with people because,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard not to get your feelings hurt sometimes. So,
It is, and I think, like, and I say this, that, and I can only speak from my own experience, like, for the most part, 99% of the time, I'm gonna do whatever it's gonna take to retain your business.
yeah.
yeah.
So, whether that's me swallowing my pride, whether that's me apologizing, whether it's me refunding something, I'm gonna do it, because at the end of the day, like, I believe in a healthy and, like, fair business, and so there
Hmm.
are things I look at, and like, "You know what? You actually didn't get a great service here. Like, I can see how
Mm-hmm.
we failed. I can see how we failed you, and so here's what I wanna do, is I wanna refund your service fee, and I wanna give you this," whatever. Like, I think the assumption for a lot of people, and I don't think it's a wrong assumption, because I think we were trained this way, and I think they probably had a previous, experience which made them have this assumption that no matter what they say, like, they're like, the venue is going to push back, or the venue is just gonna be like, "Oh, well, like, sucks to be you," or they're
Hmm.
not gonna make it right, or they're just concerned about the dollar and the bottom line. And yes, I care about the bottom line, not because I'm trying to, like, line my pockets, but because I have, 7 employees that depend on me and their livelihoods, right? But I also, like, care a lot about my reputation, and I care a lot about doing the right thing. And so I think approaching it's what, again, this is like another, unreasonable hospitality. Approaching it with charitable assumption. Like, let's
Hmm.
all
Mm-hmm.
assume here that we
Yes.
want we want the right thing. Let's all assume here that we're not trying to cheat one another, that we all are putting our best foot forward, that we are doing the best that we can. Let's all make that assumption before this conversation happens, and then typically you can have a really healthy, solution.
I love it. All right, we're gonna wrap up with this last question here, but I
Okay.
think I think I know the answer going into
Oh,
it. But
okay.
how can couples continue to keep like that strong relationship all the way through the wedding day? Like from booking all the way to the end.
Yeah, I think, we've definitely talked about it. Communication is big for sure.
I win. I was
Yeah.
like, it's got to be communication.
Just communication, like, don't ghost them after you book, like,
Yeah.
and to be fair, a good venue should be instigating the conversation, so replying to it, whatnot. But yeah, I mean, again, it's just like, let us know where you're at. Like, even if you get into it and you're like, okay, I got this venue and I loved it and I couldn't say no to it, but like, I really maybe shouldn't, I overspent. Like, what can you do? Like, let us know.
Hmm.
Like, let us help you out. Like, let's talk about things that we could do on our end to help alleviate that a little bit. Let's not, I don't want to give you a crazy bar quote that like's going to like give you heart palpitations. Like, let's talk about it and let's see what we can do. Like, I think ultimately everyone wants everyone to be happy at the end of the day. So,
Hmm.
just let us know where you're at. Like, keep talking to us. Don't just disappear into the ether, you know. It's
And
not helpful. Yeah.
communicate
Yes.
with your venue as well as your
Yeah.
vendor team. I think
Yes.
the more you
Yes.
communicate, the better through the
Yeah.
process. So,
Yeah, you're
I
not going to
agree.
regret anything at the end of the day by
no,
communicating.
No, it is so true. But it's the
no,
truth for every relationship you walk into. So
yeah,
it's a
Yeah.
good
so
rule of
much.
thumb.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Dana, how can our listeners get in contact with you and learn a little bit more about you?
Yeah. So me personally, I'm on all the socials. My handle is at Hustle and Gather. If you want to check out the venue, there is at the Bradford NC. My 2 new venues are McAllister Leftwich and the Graham Mill
Wow.
in the Triad area. So you guys heard it here first. I haven't actually said the names out loud on
Ooh,
anything.
I love that.
I know. So
All right, we
yeah.
are gonna well, and if it's okay to share, we'll put
Yeah,
all
we'll put them.
we'll put all that information in the
Yep.
show notes and the email and the blog and
Yep.
all the things that go out. So therefore, you can get in contact with Dana. So
Yeah.
Dana, you're always such a wealth of knowledge, and thank you for being here and
Yeah.
sharing everything with all our folks here. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
All right, folks. We'll see you next time on another episode of Now That I'm Engaged. How do I get married? Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married podcast.
Brought to you by Fantasy Sound Event Services.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. Please get in touch with me or August if you have any topic you would like us to cover.
Or if you're struggling with your wedding planning, please be sure to submit a question to podcast@fantasysound.com.
I encourage you to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're a fan, we'd love if you would subscribe to the podcast and leave a review.
It helps others find our podcast so that they can learn from our guests too. And to everybody listening,
Happy wedding planning!